Hey folks, it's Sven back again, and today it's proper chords to Anouman, a very nice song that's played a lot in Gypsy jazz. It's kind of a ballad, and I will play one chorus as a demonstration so you know what we're talking about, and then I will play some typical idiomatic chord movements and insights in the style of jazz manouche. It goes like this: 3, 4. Ba 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 ba. Da da, bo da ba da ba da ba da ba da 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 ba da dee. Excuse my singing. Second A. Now part B. This is usually improvised. And now a very long A7. So the tune is in D minor, and I started with a triad because sometimes in old swing music or old time music a triad is more than a minor 7 or a minor 6 chord. The triad is a good option, just played like the bar chord. Please keep in mind or check out that I'm not playing the upper E string, because the upper E string, the fifth on the E string, is not a very beautiful sound. So I keep my index, like loose, so that the E string is muted, while my index is also muting the low E string, of course. This is a typical way to play it. I would also prefer this chord as the first run in other songs in D minor, like La Gitane or, for example, Bossa Dorado. If you want to play a non-triad chord, you could play a D minor 6 chord, which goes like this. So the middle finger is playing the D string is muted, the index is playing natural B, which is kind of the 6th, and the pinky is playing F. So it's just a 3-note chord voicing, and you can extend it to a 4-note chord voicing by placing the middle finger between the strings and playing the 5th in the bass. So we got like A, D, B, and F. Another one is the B half diminished chord, which is a nice substitute for a D minor chord if you want to play the sound of D minor 6. So it's just like natural B in the bass. Then we got F with the ring finger, A with the middle finger, 2nd fret, and then the D, the 3rd fret. The root is on the B string here, and E strings are muted. So, and the last thing that you can do is play the D minor chord in the accompaniment up here in the 10th fret. So you got the root on the high E string. We got D, the A string is muted, natural B with the index 9th fret, and then the ring finger is performing a bar chord. So these are the options. You can leave out the E string by playing G and B with ring and pinky and muting the E string. This is also fine. So, and then we got a movement that's often written down, if it's written down, because Gypsy swing isn't written down a lot. But a lot of players now play G minor and A7, which is kind of the same thing than E half diminished and A7. It's kind of a 2-5 in D minor, but instead of the E half diminished, we play a G minor or G minor 6, which is actually the same chord. It only has a different root. Especially when you play it in a duo situation, it might make a difference if you want to play the G in the bass. So I would play G minor 6 like this, which is exactly the same chord that I just showed you for D minor 6 up here. Or sometimes I even play it as a triad. When I play it as a triad, I play the bar chord, but I don't play it like this. To avoid the root on the high E string for getting a more mellow sound, I play my thumb in the bass on G, play with the ring and with the pinky D and G, and then my index is performing a mini bar chord, just covering the G and the B string. So we got G with the thumb, D, G, B flat, D. If you can't do that for some reason with the thumb, just leave out the thumb, mute it, and just play the middle strings like this. The advantage is that when you play rhythm guitar for a long time, which is typical in gypsy jazz, with no release and no kicks, just fourth notes all the time, you need some chords that avoid the tension of a bar chord. If you have the tension of a bar chord all the time, especially in higher paces, that's getting disturbing. So, a lot of players, I'm just telling from my own experience, but also from the experience by watching and listening to all the other great players in that style. In a lot of styles where you play a lot of rhythm guitar, fast rhythm guitar, and rhythm guitar that requires endurance, you try to avoid bar chords. Not because you can't play them, but because it's getting very exhausting if you do it for 90 minutes on stage. So, another very beautiful thing about that chord is that you can play within this chord this melodic movement from the root to the E, like root, F sharp, F, E. Very nice. This is a very good thing to do. So for the A7, you can play also some very typical voicings. A very easy one that's typical is the A dominant 7 with the thumb in the root. And a lot of jazz guitar players know this with the index in the bass. Like index, A string muted, G, pinky is playing the 3rd C sharp, and the ring finger is playing E. But you can play it like this. And a true gypsy jazz rhythm guitar player would even use the pinky to cover the 5th. Again, this is the option if you want to avoid the A up here on the E string, because this is a more idiomatic sound. The last option that's very cool here, that covers a lot of strings, is this one, also very difficult. So the thumb is covering the root, then the middle finger is playing 2 strings at once, like A and D. The index is playing C sharp, and the pinky is playing the 7th. Typical chord here. Again, if you're not managed to play the thumb, you can just play it without the thumb, or even use both fingers here. This is also okay. If you take a closer look, you will see that it's pretty much the same than the bar chord, but it's only the middle strings with the pinky playing the 7. Then there are some short chord forms that are often played, like A7 only with 3 strings, like A string muted, G and C sharp, or even playing the C sharp here too. And you can do some chord movements by using dim chords, like, so what I just did was A7, C sharp dim, D minor 6. And you can also approach that D minor from the E chord. So you play A7, E dim, and D minor. This is also beautiful. And you can approach that from many different points. You can play like, so in the context it would be like, or so we go. Now we continue. Now we have a 2-5 to B flat. So that means C minor 7 and F dominant 7, 9. I place my middle finger between both strings. The C minor 7 is the pretty normal C minor 7. If you can't bend your ring finger, people sometimes play it with all the fingers, using the index for the root, A string is muted, having all these strings. Or you can even use the thumb and bend the index. This is also possible. And then we got a C9 chord where I cover all 6 strings. My middle finger is playing again 5th and root at the same time. So the mic is here, so here you see it. Then I got the A, E flat, let me see, G and C. And then when I play the B flat major chord, I play a B flat major 6-9. All 6 strings again. My thumb is covering B flat, then F and B flat, D, and the ring finger is playing the upper two strings. This one is difficult. If you can't do that, you play the middle strings and leave out both E strings, or when this chord is comfortable for you, you can play the thumb and the bass and leave out the high E string. This is also possible. Then we go back to D minor with a 2-5, but we're not using the minor 2-5 with E half diminished and A7, but we play a regular 2-5 with E minor 7, going to A again, and then back to D. So you can play any A7 that I showed before, of course, and the E minor 7 I played here is a pretty common one. Sometimes I'm playing even E minor 9 to emphasize this, strange sound in the song, because the E minor 9 contains an F sharp, which is not really a, let's say, in the pocket note in the key of D minor, but you can play it anyway to make it sound more like modern jazz. That's what, the players today would do, like Stochelo or something. Adrien Monia, they play an E minor 9 chord with the F sharp here on the pinky. Or again, here with this voicing is beautiful. I'm covering all 6 strings. Again, the middle finger is playing 5th and root. This is very typical in Gypsy swing. Then the index is playing the G, and then I got the little bar chord. So it's kind of a G major with both B and E in the bass. And then you can also play an A7-13 if you like to sustain these F sharp note, or leave it. I just played A7 in the beginning. So then we go back to D minor, and then with a 2-5, and now I'm playing the 2 like E half diminished with E, B flat, D, and G, and A. And sometimes I even play a bar chord, I don't mind. Especially in the ballad I do that. I wouldn't do it in the swing tempo, but in the ballad I sometimes play the bar chord. You can even play a very nice Spanish sound here using the flat 9 within the triad. This is nice. Or even make it a sus chord with, A, E, G, and then here the D, and then add the flat 9. This is a nice chord as well. And then we have another A. It's exactly the same thing, but after the E minor 7 and A, we switch to D minor, just 2 strokes, then G minor, and then we stay on D minor for a whole bar. Before we go to part B. Part B is special because it has some things that people do. It's written most of the time in a more modern way with a 2-5, A minor 7, D7. That's, moved around across the fretboard. So now we're going to G. Now we're going to B and E. So B minor 7 and E. Until finally we stay very long on the A dominant 7. So, but what people like to do is, instead of playing A, D, A, D, you treat the first 2-5 like a 2-5 that's resolving to G minor. So this can be played as before. And then I would go like, for example, with a D flat 9, or you can leave that, you can just play the D9. And now I would go to G minor and leave out the C7. So that gives the impression of a tonal center. So you got like A minor, D7, and now there's a rest on the G minor. Sorry for that. Until you finally continue. Now you have these 2-5 things, and again a new tonal center or a rest on the A dominant 7, which can be really played with a lot of different stuff. And that's what players do. And in the demonstration, I did play the 2-5. And then on the G, because it lasts so long, I did this fall from the root to the 6th. Like, G minor triad, G minor major 7 on the D string, G minor 7, G minor 6. You can even do it with the James Bond rise, playing it like this, and then playing, for example, so I'm playing like G minor, then G minor with an E flat on top. That can be played also on the B string. G minor with E flat on the B string, G minor with E on the B string, and again with E flat. This is a nice way to do it, or even play it on the A string. That one particular is beautiful. So you got the D here, the bass, and then the G minor triad, like B flat, D, and the root on the B string. 8th fret, B flat, 7th fret, D, and 8th fret again, the G. And then the James Bond movement is on the E string in the bass. D, E flat, E, and again E flat. This one's beautiful. Before you go to the B minor and E. Because the last A is again the same A than the second A, but one last thing in part B is you can do something beautiful with the A7 by, you know, making a fall in the bass, like. And I already taught that, I think, in Clair de Lune, and it's happening a lot. So you got A7 as we had it before. Then you play the A triad, like Highway to Hell, like the normal rock chord, just with the index, and play G in the bass. Then you play F in the bass, still having the A. Now I'm playing the A with my ring finger. You can also use all 3 fingers. And then E. So you got like. Very beautiful, and some of these movements exist. You can do again the dim thing, like that we had in the beginning, and then play both dims, like A7, C sharp dim, E dim, C sharp dim, and back to A. Stuff like that is also beautiful. You can also play something like the caravan movement. You can play like. So I played A7, then moved it up a half fret to B flat 7, A flat, and then C sharp dim. All these things are possible, while the soloist can do a lot of things with symmetric scales, like the whole tone scale, which is typical for that time. Debussy used it a lot, and Django was a fan of Debussy, stuff like that. So, and then we continue to, you know, let's say part A, which is again like D minor, ba ba da ba da 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 da. This one I didn't taught. This is also nice. Instead of A7, I play A7 sus, like with the ring finger playing A string muted, G with the pinky, and from natural B and D, I'm moving to B flat and C sharp, like that one. If you want to have some dark colors on the D minor chord, you can play it with F in the bass. Therefore, you choose the normal D minor campfire chord, but instead of having the third, the F up here, like you learned it when you were a kid, you place the F on the low E string. This is also a nice sound. So you can go like. Oh, this was already out of tune. And then you have the ending of the second A. And maybe on the last stroke, one A7 to continue with the song. So that was proper chords to Anouman. Hope you like it. If yes, subscribe to my channel. There's a lot more thing to discover concerning idiomatic chord voicings, and I will explain a lot of songs there. So hope you liked it anyway, and see you soon. This was Sven for you. Bye.